Good morning everyone and welcome to Jimmy Online. My name is Rodrigo and I'll be with you guys for the next 10 or 15 minutes. So, welcome and let's start watching because for today's episode we get a really interesting topic. Hey guys, so first of all, before I start coding, I want to give you one of the definitions that I like the most about the functions in JavaScript. And well, this is as for the developer.mozilla.org, and it is basically what they said is it is a set of statements that performs a task or calculates a value. And what we can add is it receives or it may receive or not some arguments, and it may return or not a value. There are three ways that we can use to create a function. Number one, via function declaration. Number two, via function expression. And number three, if you want to use the keyword function, you can use it via constructor function. So let's start with the first one, which is the declaration, function declaration. Now let's create another one, but this is gonna be the function expression. So and that's it. In here what we are using is an anonymous function because we are not giving any name to this one. Now there is another way to create a function, and this is by using the keyword new. We don't usually use this too much. Okay, here we have it. So this is by using the word function. Now the question is, guys, which one is better, a function declaration or a function expression? But what happens if I do this? What do you think is going to happen here? Because I'm calling the function before we are defining the function. Let me just comment this code right here. Here it is. And now let us run it. What do you think is going to happen? Here it is. Nothing is breaking. This code is working perfectly. So why do you think this is happening? We have something in JavaScript called hoisting. It is important to understand why here this is working and nothing is breaking. So this type of functions, the function declarations, are automatically moved to the top of our scope. So whenever we write a function declaration, it is as if we were doing this, because they are moved to the top, and then therefore we don't have any problem. Now let us check what happens with the function expression. So here we have the function expression, and let me do exactly the same. I'm moving the execution, the call of the function right here before the actual assignation of the function to this variable. And let's run it and let's see what happens. Well, before running it, try to think about it for 1 second. That's it. So now let's run it. All right, here we have an issue, and it says, my second function is not defined. JavaScript is putting this right here, and later in the line number 8, it is as if we were just assigning the function. So it is moving the declaration to the top because of hoisting, but the assignation is happening whenever we wrote the statement. Then at this moment it is saying, okay, this is not a function, So if we are using function expressions, don't forget we need to make sure that we have this here, and always the use of the function is coming after the assignation of the function to this variable. Now, what happens when we have missing or extra parameters? Let's say we have something like this. Now, what happens if we run it with missing parameters? Let's say I'm passing 1. I'm gonna print also the value of b. What is gonna happen here? B is not receiving any value, but internally JavaScript is assigning an undefined value. So with the missing parameters, it doesn't matter. It still runs, but an undefined value is automatically assigned. Now let us check what happens with extra parameters. Let's say we have A and B, and then we pass 1, 2, and number 3. So what is going to happen now? Here it is. So still, we don't have any error in JavaScript. This is not telling us, okay, guys, you have a problem here, and then you're passing 3 parameters when the function only receives 2. Let's say you want to know what are all the parameters that we are passing, that this function is receiving. Even though we don't have a third one here, there is a way that we can use to check. It is by using the keyword arguments. What it gives us is all the parameters that are actually being passed to this function, even though they are not defined. So let us check. Here it is. So here we have the first one is going to be the number 1, the second, the number 2, and the third, the number 3. Parameter versus argument. The difference between them is that the parameters are the ones that we use when we are defining the function. So we define the function, and then there are the parameters that are actually also called the formal arguments. Then the arguments, on the other hand, are the ones that we use when we are invoking the function. So they're also called, they receive the name as actual parameters as well. So we have the definition of the function, in which we use parameters, and then we have the invoking of the function, which are the arguments. Now guys, in our next exercise, we're gonna check how a function can create also a local scope. But what is going to happen here in the line 11 and in the line 12? Take a moment and think of what is going to be the result in here. Okay, enough. So now the result, let us check. Then we run it, and here we have a problem. Here it says inner, the variable inner is not defined. Of course, because we created this function, this variable, inside of this test function. Therefore, in this context, in line 11, this is not defined. So this is expected. Now, let us just comment this line here, just to continue. And now let's check what is going to happen with the other function, with the other variable, this one here. Everything is cool. So now we have test inner scope, which is the inner scope, the value of this variable from inside of the function, and the value of this second variable from inside of the function test. But also here, we can have the value here. And then why the first one was undefined and the second one is defined as if nothing is happening. So what is really happening here is that this is also a topic that is related to the previous chapter, to the variables and the declarations and definitions of variables. So here, since we are not using, or we skipped the keyword var, internally what JavaScript does is that it is trying to find the closest scope, or where this variable is going to be accessible. In this moment, the closest where this code is being executed is in the global scope. So right now we have here local scope, which is created inside of this function test, but outside, whenever all of this is being executed, is the node scope, the global scope. And this is given by our environment where we are running this script, and this is node. Because remember, we are running these JavaScript lines with node. So in this case, the global context is gonna be something like, we can also write something like this, global.order. If we were running this piece of code in a browser, it would be window, because the global object in the browser is window. What happens if you, for example, use another variable that is used in another piece of code, and then you will be like polluting the global scope, and this is undesirable. So let's say we can use a strict. Look what happens now when you want to run this code. Now it says order is not defined because it is creating like a more safety environment for development. Okay, now we're gonna check what is a recursive function. What is recursion in JavaScript, in functions? So let's check these 8 lines here that I wrote. Let me run it. And here we have a problem. This is being called like multiple times until it reaches the maximum code stack size exceeded. We need a breakpoint here. And let us create it. There it is. So now here we have it. I just created a breakpoint here that is like indicating whatever we receive value that is less or equal to 0, we just simply return this value. Now let's call it, let's run it here. Let's get rid of this and let's run it. And here we have it. So this is what we call a recursive function. Well guys, this is the end of the video, guys. So I really hope that you liked it. I really hope that you enjoyed it and you found it interesting. So see you in 2 weeks, because in the next week, in the next Monday, I'll be spending some time with my family, with my friends, with my beautiful lady, my girlfriend Angelina. So see you in 2 weeks, guys. I hope that you don't type code too much. I hope that you eat a lot, or well, try to control yourself, but try to eat a lot also. So see you in 2 weeks, guys. Also, I wanted to say Happy Christmas to all of you. Happy New Year's. Stay with your family, enjoy, have fun, give your family a lot of love, because this is what matters actually. And drive safely, do not drink alcohol too much. Well, see you guys. See you in 2019. Bye bye.